Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hey, welcome back to Joe on Joe. I'm your host, Joe Slepsky. And with me this week is one of you listeners, a new guest, a new friend. He reached out to me over Gmail, and I'm very happy to have him on this episode of Joe on Joe. His name is Jeffrey Vineyard. Jeffrey, welcome to Joe on Joe.
Yo, Joe, Joe. What's up?
Yo, Joe, Joe. That sounds like what one of the rival bands would say to the Monkees. Like they would walk by their windows and go, yo, Joe, Joe.
It's very possible. I think Cold Slither used that method to psych out other bands.
I think so. Well, welcome, man. So you're calling from Owensboro, Kentucky. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's right. Western Kentucky. We're right on the Indiana border.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. I've been down through that way a little bit. I like it down there.
Yeah, it's all right. We're a little humid right now, so I could deal without that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. It's probably the best thing that I learned about moving to California is living in like the desert air. It's just so wildly different from, growing up in like the Midwest humidity. Terrible. Sure. And how long you been a G.I. Joe fan, man?
Since the first year, I suppose. I know my first figure was Flash, and it was a straight arm Flash, and I also had yeah, I also had Scarlet and Snake Eyes from the Straight Arm series. But I went from Star Wars to G.I. Joe, and then for some reason, Joe's greatest. A lot of people think '85, was a really good year for the toys. That was the year I got into Transformers, and so the only Joes I bought in '85 were Alpine and a Snow Serpent.
Oh, that was such a good year, though.
Yes, I know, right? And then so I picked up '86. I did 86 and 87. I don't think I bought a single figure in 88.
Uh-huh.
I picked up again in 89 and went through to the Battle Corps, Star Brigade, all that. I hung in through Sergeant Savage.
Did you
when it went
really?
to G.I. Joe Extreme? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I liked some of it, but when it hit the Extreme, G.I. Joe Extreme, that's when I was like, okay, that's it. I can't do this.
The fact that you hung in through the Star Corps and through Sergeant Savage, and that's bold, man. That's good for you. I bailed long before that. I'm on record. My last Joe was Snake Eyes version 3. And he's still sealed up and sitting on my shelf here, and that's it. That was it for that time.
Well, I when I'd gotten out of Joe's for a while, I'd moved to Nashville, and there was a comic store there that sold. Well, at the time they weren't even vintage toys, but they had Joe's, old Star Wars stuff, and I was like, that's kind of cool. And then I went to Toys R Us and saw, I think it might have been whatever the '92 series was, where they brought back, I think it was like Duke version 2, Destro, Wetsuit, Roadblock.
Would that have been Pimp Daddy Destro?
Yes, it would have been like in that era. And I saw those and thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to get Duke and Destro for the heck of it.
Right.
And it hasn't stopped since then, basically.
That's great. That's great. Did you read the comics
I did.
Yeah.
I started with issue 16 of the comic maybe, and followed it. I had a subscription. For a lot of years when I was a kid. And then I guess I remember when was it? I can't remember the guy's first name, but Wildman.
Andrew Wildman.
Yes.
Yep.
When he started getting into the art out of those covers, I was like, wow. And even though it was like Ninja Force and all that weird stuff,
it was still a good time.
Still pretty good. Absolutely.
That was the one part that I never left. So I stopped collecting the toys and the show. I had seen all the episodes.
Sure.
But I never stopped reading the comic until probably 94, when I think the comic ended in 94.
Right.
I'm not kidding you. About 4 issues before the comic ended.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea it was coming to a close. And I was in college, and I was like, you know what? I wasn't really pleased with the way it was going. I'm like, maybe I think I got to drop it. And it was a big emotional moment for me. And I'm like, I think I got to stop reading this comic. I'm not really loving it. I'm into girls. I was still reading. Listen, I was still reading comics. This, that line of thought was made no sense at all.
Yeah, that's why I didn't buy Joe's in '88. I think that's when I was discovered girls.
Yeah, and so I stopped reading the comic. Fast forward to like 4 months later, I see in Wizard or somewhere that it was canceled. And
Oh,
I've
right.
carried that guilt with me
Oh,
forever
wow.
that it was my
Sure.
choice to drop
Right.
G.I. Joe. That led to
Right.
Marvel canceling the
Oh,
comic.
man.
I immediately picked up the missing 4 issues that I never got.
Right.
And so of course, but it did nothing to assuage my guilt. I've felt bad about
Right.
that for all these many years. So
Oh, man, that's tough. That's
I'm
gotta
coming
be
clean.
tough.
I'm coming clean here.
Well, we're here for you, man.
Now you tell me that you're in a band called the Dashing Skull Club.
Right. Yeah, we've been doing music off and on for longer than I'd like to admit, I'm afraid. But it's kind of a I like to call it special ed Zeppelin. It's a very free flowy rock, jazz, punk influence. Like we don't really set out to make each song sound different, but it happens that way, and we're hip on a lot of like changes, and you start with a reggae and you end with some other type of music.
That's just because your drummer's drunk. You know that, right?
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately.
No, that's very cool. And where do you guys
yeah.
do you guys play locally or?
Well, we play a lot of shows in a town, Evansville, which is about 40 minutes from here. It's in Indiana. We've played Lexington and Louisville. Those are bigger cities here. In fact, you might have even heard of Louisville, Kentucky. I know
of course.
Yeah,
Louisville,
it's often featured on the 48 hours where they have to solve the police have to solve the crime in 48 hours.
Well, Louisville's the city. Louisville's a city that it's the city. How would I phrase this? It's the city that the residents of it most often love to correct how you pronounce it.
Oh, sure. Yeah, right.
Because you have to swallow it. You have to swallow it. You have to go like a Louisville. Like I'm going down. Exactly. I'm going down to the University of Louisville.
Got it.
And if you say Louisville, they will let you know that you are in fact mispronouncing Louisville.
It's outsider. They do the scream like in the pod people.
Body snatchers. Yeah,
and they're like, he's outsider.
Yeah. I'm looking for the Louisville Chamber of Commerce. Next thing you know, you're arrested.
Right.
You're in jail overnight, and they're like, "No, son, I'm going to let you go with a warning."
Yeah.
You tell me how do they pronounce it?
Mm-hmm.
When you finally say Louisville, if it's a Louisville, then they let you go. I get it. I've been there. I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
Oh, that's very cool, man. And if anyone wanted to check your stuff out, you said you have is there a YouTube channel for that?
Yeah, we've got there's I think it's just you can look for Dashing Skull Club on YouTube. I've got a personal YouTube channel called Revenge Creature Reviews, and I've got some of our stuff posted up there.
And that's toy review stuff, right?
Yeah, I've got some toy reviews, some vlogs, and the flea market that I work at. Like I said, I get a lot of opportunities to see vintage toys, so I do a lot of like what I got at the flea market today kind of stuff.
That's kind of cool. For a collector, that's like having all the hard work come to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I've gotten. Oh, I picked this up recently. This is kind of weird. It's a Megatron bank, a gumball bank. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
So
it's
weird,
but that's super vintage.
That's the kind of stuff I like to come across. Yeah, 84 actually.
Oh wow, that's really neat. There's a place out here in California called Frankensons.
Oh wow!
And it's a year-round collectibles show, and they're only open on Wednesdays and Saturdays, which unfortunately doesn't work with my schedule. But it's like going to an actual mall where every store just sells everything that you like. Right.
Yeah. I've seen a documentary about when episode 1 first came out, and I think the Frankensons actually had a little piece in there where some people were talking to them, because I remember that name sounds familiar.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It's been around for a long time. I was on a reality show on the Sci-Fi Network for my comic book collection, and they took us there, and they were featured heavily on there. Yeah. So it's been around for a while. Unfortunately, I work at the shop on Saturdays, and Wednesday I work at my other job. So I literally have not been there since we shot the reality show.
Oh, geez, wow! You need to take a sick day.
I know, right? Well, you know what? The few Saturdays that I have taken off, I've gone. Well, now I'm away from the comic shop. Do I want to go back to a comic shop?
Another comic shop, right? That's true.
We'd be remiss. We can't go any further. Speaking of comic books and all that stuff, the day we're recording this yesterday, we heard that Mr. Adam West passed away.
Yes, that was tough.
Yeah, that he of course obviously was my Batman.
Yep.
I think he was a lot of people's first Batman.
Yeah.
What a lovely dude. I got a chance to meet him at a couple comic conventions.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he always, he just always had a great, I wouldn't say always, because I know in the 70s he just being a historian of him, like he was pretty bitter about it, and I think maybe rightfully so. I think it was rough on genre actors at the time.
Yeah.
But I love that he came around full circle to it, and embraced it in like the last 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that he got to do the character again in that animated thing.
We watched it. We threw it on at the shop yesterday. We watched Adam West all day. We normally don't do TV stuff, but we brought in a monitor and threw it up. We did Adam West all day. I got a chance to see him on a pilot show that Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman were shooting called, it was for their Hollywood Babylon podcast. They were doing a live action version of it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, my wife and I got to be in the test audience and for shooting it, and they brought Adam West on.
Oh wow!
And he did a thing they called West on West, and it was
interesting.
And maybe that's where I got the idea for Joe on Joe, the name, because it was Adam West reading Kanye West lyrics.
Oh my gosh! Wow, wow! That's got to be something.
It was a special thing. It was a real special thing. The show never aired, so I don't know if the footage of him doing it got out there. But if you can find it, it's really fantastic.
Check YouTube, folks. You never know; it might be out there.
Yeah,
that's great.
Completely, yeah. So it's great. Yeah. So I love Adam West. Big fan. And so rest in peace,
absolutely,
Cape Crusader.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, on a brighter note, we've got an awesome episode of G.I. Joe today.
Mm-hmm.
It's Sink the Montana.
Yes.
And it is as real of an episode as I think they get.
Right.
To be honest, with the exception of the next week's episode, the episode that follows this, which not to get too much into that, but I was watching ahead just for prep for the show. And the next episode, also very real. Wow. So I love it.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Did you remember this from when you were growing up?
I do. Absolutely. I do remember the episode. It surprised me how almost bittersweet it was. I expected to see a more goofy episode, and I remembered what the plot was. I remembered in general what the plot was. And then when I watched the episode, there was only a couple of moments where it was like, okay, this is the G.I. Joe cartoon, but it could have been something else. It's a good story.
Yeah, it really is. Like it could have been like some kind of like Seagal movie or or like a Bruce Willis thing.
Right.
About an old soldier who just, ran across something he couldn't fight, which was time and age and passing and stuff. Yeah. Wow. It's great. So this episode's pretty awesome. I'm a big fan.
Yes, it is. Yes, sir.
Jeffrey, if we wanted to find you on Twitter, we'd find you at Dashing Skull. Is it _Skull?
Right. Yeah. _Skull. Mm-hmm.
All right. That's on Twitter. You go to YouTube, look for Revenge Creature Reviews.
Yes, sir.
Also, you could do a search for Dashing Skull Club. And you also mentioned that you've got a Speed Racer podcast that you're going to start doing. Is this right?
Yeah, that's correct. Within the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have 2 episodes dropping. It's going to be called Doin Speed, a Speed Racer podcast.
I love that.
And I've got the first episode is going to be just an intro, my history with the show and the history of the show. The second episode is going to be just jumping right into it. And just like your show, we're going to be looking at each week or each episode, one episode of the show until I get through all 52, until the Japanese language set comes out. And then I'll probably have a second year of material there, because I'm sure there's differences between the English dub and the actual Japanese language versions.
Wow. So you're a massive Speed Racer fan then?
Pretty big fan. Yeah. The show's just fits. I like the kooky, frantic pace of it, and it's kind of stuck with me over the years. Yeah,
that's great. What did you think of the Wachowski siblings movie?
Well, I don't think you could have done anything else, honestly. I mean, I don't know. It was entertaining. It might not have been the Grapes of Wrath or whatever, but it's a good time. I wasn't disappointed.
I think it's really underrated. I think it's a super trip. Like,
I think people just it's one of those movies that's so silly that people just want to jump on a bandwagon and say, oh well, it's just it's too loud, it's too flashy, it gives me a headache or whatever, you know. But I mean, I can see that.
I thought it was, I mean, obviously it's the when you consider the source material, you're not going to get Grapes of Wrath,
right?
But like those the races and stuff, it's just like it's like a fever dream come to life. Like it's so well done.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and all the performances were hammy, but like cartoon funny hammy. Like they were great.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a really underrated movie. I'm a fan of it. I'm a fan of it.
Right on.
Awesome.
Right on.
Well, I'm excited. Oh, real quick, you can find me on social media at JoeOnJoePod, and send me an email at joeandjoepod@gmail.com if you want to be a guest, just like Jeffrey Vineyard here.
That's how I did it.
Boom. Shoot me a note. And for you loyal listeners, a reminder that we are running a contest for the month of June. Not everyone's on Facebook. I get that, but it's the easiest way for me to aggregate it. So go to my Facebook page, Joe and Joe Pod, and look for it's the top pinned post, and it's our contest post. And go on there, leave me a note with your favorite Joe or Cobra or both. And at the end of the month, I will be drawing a winner. Now, here's the rub. The winner is going to get one comic book. But what I really want you to do is I really want you to share and tell your friends. Because what I'm expecting is for every 100 extra downloads that we get, I'm going to add another comic book, Jeff.
Nice.
So we're
That's
talking.
A good deal.
Oh yeah, and I've got a ton of comic books. So this literally could go on forever. If you get this to be the biggest downloaded show, I'll give away my whole set. I just want people to hear it. I want to see some growth. And so far we're on a good track, but it'll be probably the last couple weeks or so that we'll be announcing what the extra comics are. But so far so good.
Great.
Well,
I've entered.
Well, without further ado, Jeff, let's get into Sync the Montana. Are you ready?
I am ready, sir.
All right, let's do this.
Yo, Joe!
So, did you have any preference for like which opening you preferred, the one with Sergeant Slaughter or the original?
No, I like actually. Well, no, actually like this one. I don't really. I'm trying to remember. Oh, the Duke Duke was in the original, right? Is that how that one started? I think.
Yeah, the original had Duke, and it had the big old snake plane.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of like this one. I kind of like the way the big Cobra comes crashing out at the end. That's pretty cool. And you got the Terradrome and stuff.
Oh, totally. Yeah, this one's super toy centric.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that must be what it is.
I don't mean to make you choose. Who forces a man to choose between two G.I. Joe openings? Not this guy. Not this
that's
broadcaster.
Why my answer was right ready. I was so ready with
not this broadcaster. So we're gonna open up the show with Sync the Montana, written by David Karen.
Yes.
And we're opening on a naval shipyard, and they're retiring the USS Montana.
The world returns home to Philadelphia Naval Yards.
Philadelphia Naval Yards. I hope Philadelphia's on the ocean.
Sure. It probably is.
For some reason, I never thought of Philadelphia as having a naval yard.
Right.
Hold on a second. We're gonna have to look into that. Well, maybe at the commercial.
Heroic ship.
Got a killer whale. Anytime, any excuse we have to bring Shipwreck out with Polly always makes me happy.
Absolutely. His shirt seems to be unusually open. I mean, it's always open.
No, it really is. It's
full of frames.
It might be a hot day in Philadelphia, is all I'm saying.
That's right.
Might be a real hot day.
Here she is, folks. The USS Montana, the greatest
look out.
ship to ever sail the high seas.
You know, when I think when I was a kid, I think I used to confuse this with the was it Raise the Flag episode? Like, I think I used to get like the two ships and confuse like somehow these were related.
At the end of your career, George, we're honoring you and the Montana.
If you think that circus out there is some kind
so
of
we've got a very
you're no friend of mine and never have
very upset naval.
Yeah.
What was he? Was he a jet? Brigadier something?
Yeah, Admiral something.
Admiral. That's what it was. A very upset guy. because he does not want to retire. And sure enough, Cobra attacks.
Right there, boom.
Right in the middle of it.
Yes, again, Overton. They're not shooting at the grandstand.
What was that guy wearing a solid green jumpsuit? Somebody in the crowd.
It's a good look. Occasionally, that's what I've noticed on this is like sometimes some of the fleeting people, they have just odd outfits on.
Right.
Like they don't.
Just. I guess the animators get bored or something.
Yeah, it's like there's like a couple stock looks, and then sometimes they just choose the wrong one. You know, like the one that just doesn't fit the scenario. You know.
I like these MPs here with their white helmets shooting at bats.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we've got battle android troopers. They're storming the ship. Destro's basically come to take over. I love seeing Hawk in action.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And bats, like, I love that since they introduced bats here in the second season, like Cobra's fighting just ramps up.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're much more menacing now that they basically have an army of Terminators with them.
Right. And it also adds a little bit more violence because you can blow their heads off and blow them up and stuff where you couldn't a regular Viper, you know?
Yes.
So that's cool.
Absolutely.
I mean, there, in a scene just a couple seconds ago, there was one shot, literally shot like bilaterally. It was still crawling.
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
George.
Oh no. Turns out George is betraying his country. We get a little we see that George has been with the Montana for his entire career.
Flashback to I guess World War II here.
Yeah, but at this point probably, yeah. Yeah, he's not going to let her cut her up because he's basically he's married to the Montana.
Right, literally. Yeah. This is his woman.
Yeah, this is not Sink the Montana. It's called Divorce Your Longtime Girlfriend or Wife is what this episode's called. Yeah, but the reality though is the show does a great job of making you feel bad for George here.
Absolutely. Like it's very bittersweet.
Yeah, you kind of get it. You're like, hey, this ship still works. The only reason they're retiring it is because, you know, they have to get new boats, you know. It's not because he's not working anymore, and that's kind of the way you feel about getting old, you know. Like,
you can save your ship.
There's newer models coming along, but I can still do the job.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, this is great. Another flashback.
Oh, yep.
And that's something you don't see a lot in G.I. Joe either, obviously.
It's even black and white flashback to let you know it's, you know, I guess this might be Korea, maybe a Korean War or something.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Also, to remind you that old people dream in black and white.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. I don't think color dreams started till 66.
Yeah. People were, until people saw color on TV, they didn't realize that they were able to dream in color.
Right.
It's a well-known fact. That's a scientific. Yeah,
it is.
It's a well-known fact.
I can't tell you how many papers I've read covering that subject.
Yeah. Don't try to Google it. Any listeners out there? Don't try to Google it.
Don't waste your time.
Wasting your time. Better. Waste your time with that Google. This is great. Cobra shoots down the American flag. What?
Oh yeah.
Not that that's great. You know what I'm saying. But they raise a Cobra flag.
Exactly. I like how the laser just split it in half.
Right in half.
The American flag.
And it burned on its way down. That's a little. It just tear it down. It has to burn.
It has to go down in flames.
Yeah.
Begin with a simple demonstration of your loyalty.
Yes.
I like that it's Destro running this operation.
Yep. We don't even see Cobra Commander in this episode.
No, it's just Destro, a bunch of bats. Bats are loading. Bats are really capable.
Right.
You know, like it's one
thing.
They
can do it all.
Yeah, it's one thing like to throw a bat into a battlefield and say like, attack the guys that don't look like us, right? You know, attack the guys that aren't wearing Cobra outfits.
Right.
And then they do what they do. Those bats were loading torpedoes. Yeah. They're doing like advanced calculations on, you know, like ship maintenance.
Right, exactly. And here they are knocking out the other fleet, I guess, the rest of the fleet.
Why is the entire fleet there?
And they're blowing up aircraft carriers and everything.
I feel like that's a poor management of the U.S. Naval U.S. Naval fleet. Like,
yeah,
I get you want to be like give the Montana a proper send off, but to literally bring every aircraft carrier we have just to say goodbye to a ship feels like a little overkill. So we're gonna go into commercial with the Montana kicking butt and taking names.
After these messages.
Today's Filecard Feature is on the G.I. Joe missile specialist codenamed Bazooka. His file name is David L. Katzenbogen, and his primary military specialty is armor-defeating weapon systems. His secondary military specialty is the tank driver. His place of birth is Hibbing, Minnesota, and he's a grade E5. Bazooka was driving an Abrams tank in the 3rd Horde, that's the 3rd Armor Division, when he came to the realization that an illiterate farmer armed with a $200 disposable rocket launcher could knock out a $1 million tank with less than 2 weeks training. He put in for a transfer immediately. He was trained in the Advanced Infantry School at Fort Benning, the Armor School at Fort Knox. He's a qualified expert at the Dragon anti-tank missile, the Milan system, the Law rocket, the recoilless rifle, the Law system, and all Warsaw Pact RPG systems. The subject is also EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal, qualified up to the Tactical Nuke category. Bazooka is a decisive fast thinker with all the instincts of a natural survivor. You know Bazooka. Bazooka is one of the most visually standout Joes of all time because he's wearing a football jersey. He's got the number 14 red shirt. I don't know why he's not in any type of camo, but none of this matters because Bazooka is fantastic. He's also got the amazing mustache, like a Tom Selleck-esque mustache. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if that was a little bit of the inspiration for him. According to his file card, he appears to be one of the most qualified explosive dudes in the world, and I love that. I was a big fan of the character. But when he translated to the show, as we saw in season 1, which was primarily when he was on, he was a dope. He was clumsy. He couldn't figure out how to disarm bombs, and he was often a source of comedic relief, much to my delight, actually, because I'm a big fan of Bazooka. I think his dopey, gravelly way of talking is completely entertaining. And I love that they partnered him up with Alpine and Quick Kick, and it was like the Three Stooges running around. He's one of the best Joes, and he's great for cosplaying. When you see Bazooka cosplayers, it always brings a smile to my face. Bazooka, missile specialist, David L. Katzenbogen, we salute you.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
I feel like the Montana just ran out of bubblegum, is what I'm saying.
That's right. I believe that's the case.
All right. Now, Jeffrey, last couple episodes, we've been talking to people and saying, if you were a Joe or a Cobra, what would your Joe or Cobra name, call sign, and specialty be? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, as much as I'd like to believe that I would be a Joe, I probably end up being a Dreadnought more than likely. and what kind of a name? Let's see. How about I'll be Dragon Wagon and I'll be a vehicle driver.
Shut up. The Dragon Wagon. That's great. Are you spelling it D-A-R-G-O-N?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
That's great. Dragon Wagon, and you're driving a vehicle. Any idea what vehicle?
Let's see. It's probably going to be some kind of, let's do a monster truck with some kind of turret in the back of it.
Dude, you're driving a Cobra monster truck. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, you are. And when you hit the battlefield, you just run over all the G.I. Joe, the G.I. Joe Jeeps and Off-Strikers. Yep. And
I'm aiming for those, what were they, the LCV, those little sleds they used
a lot. Those
I'm aiming
terrible
for those.
little sleds that just expose your spine to be crippled.
Exactly.
Oh, my God, I'm writing this down. You're the Dragon Wagon.
Admiral. Choice, Destro?
Dragon Wagon, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, my God, that's great. Awesome. I love it so much. And you'd come packaged with your monster truck, right?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Only available with the monster truck. What's the name of the monster truck then?
Let's see. All right, let's see. Let's do.
Well, while you're thinking of that, we just had General Hawk give the title of the show, Sink the Montana.
Nice
and we've got everything. All units. We've got all the hydrofoils, all the hovercraft. We got all the whales. We got all the Conquest X-30s the Joe's got. Everything is shooting. And while we were on break, I looked it up. There is a Philadelphia shipyard.
Oh wow!
And it is for Navy.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well,
it's the there is a
show's
Navy
educational too.
Yeah, right. There is a naval base and there is a Philadelphia shipyard.
Well,
so to all our friends in Philadelphia,
that's good.
yeah, it's off the Delaware River.
So check it out. Or you probably already have, Here's this magic weapon Cobra has that won't let anything within 2 miles of the ship.
It's nice to see Slipstream using his parachute to live.
Well, when they showed him, I thought it seems like when I saw him, I was like, oh, hey, you don't see him very often.
No, he shows up in the backgrounds a lot, kind of like Ace used to.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Shipwreck's front and center, though. Shipwreck and Hawk, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of the main.
Yeah, this is a Shipwreck Hawk episode, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Shipwreck, because, he's such a softie.
Yeah.
He really is, which I love about him.
Oh, yeah.
He's such a softie. He's got like this huge gruff exterior, but ultimately he cares about like kids and he cares about like the ocean, the Navy.
Admiral Overton is throwing
I don't mind that Destro had this uniform ready for the defecting admiral, but how did he know his measurements? That's my question.
Well, they enlisted the same guy that knew the measurements of Serpentor.
Oh, sure. Why not? That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, one of these days, one of my guests is going to have to be like the Cobra haberdasher.
Exactly.
The Cobra clothier.
Oh, sure. And he could use his tape measure like a whip too, or some kind of weapon.
Yes. Oh my God, that's totally it. It's like a razor-bladed tape measure.
Oh my gosh.
And he could repair your uniforms. You can whip up new uniforms, whatever you need. And if he gets cornered, tape measure comes out. Look out.
Mm-hmm.
Look out. So this is great. So Cobra's got that weapon that stops all modern weaponry. So the Joes are going to take over the USS Constitution, which is a wooden old ship. Snake Eyes showed up.
Yeah.
There he is.
Well, yeah. Well, like we looked up the Philadelphia thing, I actually was curious to see if the Constitution was still in active duty. And according to what I found on Google, it is still active duty ship even today.
Great.
Yeah. So, it's it actually makes sense if you're in a society that's going more and more technological based. You do need to have some holdovers from the old times.
Sure.
Just in case something like this happens. It's like you can't bring anything powered towards the Montana. So here's our wooden ship powered by wind.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah.
That's
so great.
So great. Yeah, absolutely. It's very cool. And it takes 4 Tomahawks to bring it to.
It does. I wonder. No, true question. I how I was reading an article about like our actual Defense Department measures. They obviously they count the number of ships and something like we're at like 275 or something in that area. Okay, Shipwreck's pirate outfit is amazing.
Oh yes,
he's amazing.
That has to be commented.
So we also need a GI Joe dresser too.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
so great. But this article I was reading is they have a certain number of they say we're at 300 ships or we're at 275 ships. I wonder in that count, do they count the Constitution?
Oh, sure. I wonder. That is interesting.
Is it the 274 modern ships and 1 Constitution?
Right.
I'd like to.
I can't stop looking at Shipwreck. I wish somebody's got I wonder if anybody's done a custom version of Shipwreck like that.
Oh, that would be great.
Or I feel like that could be club exclusive or con exclusive.
Oh,
or some
yeah. Do you collect like the exclusive figures and stuff?
I do. I know that's a pricier edge of the hobby, but there's certain ones I do. Especially if it's like the Tiger Force, I had to get some of those.
Yeah.
The fan subscription service is what that one's called. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Topside, which a naval figure.
We're going to break real quick. Hey, Joe and Joe listeners, listen up. You heard me tease it at the top of today's episode, so I'm back to remind you. This month only, June 2017, the Joe on Joe Facebook page will have a contest post pinned to the very top of the page. And all you have to do to enter is comment on the post answering this question. What is your personal favorite G.I. Joe or Cobra character? That's it. You've entered. Now, the prize, it started with the G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra EA Games promotional comic. Then, for every 100 extra downloads that I get this month, I'm going to add a book to the prize package. Last week, I sweetened the deal by adding G.I. Joe 3D issue number 1. It's a very obscure comic from Blackthorn Publishing. Now, when this episode drops, we only have 10 days left in the contest. So tell all your friends, share the Joe on Joe posts, and help grow the show. And you just may win the big prize. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. And yo, Joe.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
So you were saying you got topside?
Topside, yeah, because there was in 90, whatever year he came out, 91, I think, that was another period where I hadn't bought Joe's for a while, and I went to Service Merchandise, and I got Topside, that Snake Eyes version 3, and that second Headquarters. I got all of that at the same time, and just, that's around that time my mom's looking at me like, okay.
You just,
You're a little old for toys.
No, yeah, well, yeah. But by the way, you just said Service Merchandise, and you just brought back all kinds of warm fuzzies.
Oh, sure.
I used to shop there. That was the place where you would like catalog, and they would bring it out from the back, right?
Yeah, and some they had some items on the floor.
Yeah, they had a smaller showroom, but most of it was you'd go through the catalog.
Yeah, and they would come out on this conveyor belt.
Yes.
And yes. And sometimes I would just sit there and watch stuff come out on the conveyor belt,
Yeah, when we'd go, my mom would be dealing with the cut, and I would just stand by the conveyor belt, like looking at stuff that wasn't mine.
Yeah, right. It's just cool to see stuff come out of that back.
Magical right? Yeah, like what else is back there?
Right.
Oh man, my grandma used to work at S&H Green Stamps.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, up until they closed, which would have been like late 80s or something. And it was the same kind of magical feeling of like, what happens here? People just walk in with these booklets and they walk out with stuff. Like,
right?
What is going on here?
Yeah, that's something that's if we have any younger listeners, I'm sure they're going to be like, "What is it?" Green stamp?
Yeah, well, look it up. I'll tell you what it was. It's a rewards points. When you join Amazon and you get your Amazon reward points, it was the exact same thing but more local. And pre-internet,
these were analog.
That's exactly right. When you shopped at a grocery store, they would give you stamps, and sometimes they'd advertise it's a double stamp day or double stamp odd product. So you would get, instead of one stamp for every $1 you spent, you would get 2, and you filled up stamp booklets. And when you filled a whole booklet, you could take it into these S&H Green Stamp stores and exchange it for products like radios, clock radios, stereos,
all kinds of little knickknacks. I remember
all kinds of
our local one offered the Luke's X-Wing, the Star Wars X-Wing toy.
Oh,
and that was like one of the only toys they had in there. So I was like, wow, a toy.
Well, it's funny you say. I'll bet you my grandma was always good for a Star Wars toy, like always. I'll bet you she got it from her work.
Probably.
I'll bet you she did, because she was always good for Star Wars toys. I'll bet you she would pick them up from S&H. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. Well, the Joes, meanwhile, while we're reminiscing,
all kinds of
the
stuff.
Joes mounted their attack. They got in close and they were able to board the Montana. And so now we're in a deep firefight on the deck of the Montana with a bunch of bats. It's pretty great.
And I think that our traitorous admiral is starting to realize that he may have made a mistake.
He picked the wrong team. Yeah, Destro escapes because he's a coward.
Of course. And I actually, when I watched this recently for our pod here, I thought, are they going to hit him? And when Destro's escaping, because some of those lasers came pretty close, and I can't remember if he got shot down or not, but he made it out. And
so the general, he's trying to stop because it's the Montana's on automatic fire, so he's trying to stop it, but he can't stop it in time. No, and so all the ships are they're wailing away, and the Montana's in trouble. Oh man, Bazooka just caught a blast right in the head.
Wow.
I'll say this though, for a ship that can seemingly take on a whole fleet and has an automatic firing system, I want to say, why are you retiring the Montana?
Exactly. This is like a super boat.
Yeah, Montana seems pretty good to me. I'm kind of on the side of the general here.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Here we go.
The admirals. He's like he's in the same room with them and he's screaming at them. I can't stop. Like, indoor voice. We are in the same room. We are 3 feet away from each other.
The AFC's down here. On the other
side so they're trying to stop the automatic firing control right now. The AFC, which is guarded by more bats.
More bats.
What I like is that Cobra, on this episode, Cobra is like a means to an end here. You know, like the real heart of this story is what's happening right now. You know, like the heart is these characters.
It's this guy's arc, you know, his story arc.
Totally. Yeah. Like if Destro had stuck around and, you know, like tried to pull some last minute hijinks, I think it would have taken away from this. Yes. You know? And what this is these, you know, the Joes putting someone out of their misery, you know?
Yep.
But we can't take any chances. Send her to the bottom.
Oh, that's very upset. I do like that all the it's not just the Joes that are carrying lasers. All the ships seem to have lasers,
right?
Or at least they're drawn that way. Oh, you know what's funny that there it is. Oh no, he did get washed away. I was gonna say it looked like it was an animation mistake, but no, shipwreck got washed away. I love the fire effects on G.I. Joe. I've said it before.
Oh,
the fire on G.I. Joe looks just always great. You would think this would be the mission where Deep Six and Wetsuit actually wear their diving gear.
Right? Yeah.
We've talked about this before. How they're always clothed very strangely. And now they're in the water, and you'd think they could have their actual diving gear and mask on.
Looks like we get one more flashback.
Yep.
And then that finally, he says he's going down with the ship.
George is going to stay. Oh! You know what? That's a straight punch you don't get a lot on the show, right?
No,
you don't often get people striking people in the face like that. And Hawk straight up slugs George.
There they go. Man, that's too much.
And now he's got to swim through fire water in a bomber jacket.
Yep.
That can't be comfortable.
How many casualties, mainframe?
Shipwreck has not changed.
Nope.
He's still in the pirate outfit, even
pirate,
though,
yeah.
You know, everyone's sad.
There's Cover Girl. It was Cover Girl.
The Montana sunk. Oh, George is crying. Look at Polly even has an eye patch on.
Right.
I don't think I noticed that. I love Polly so much. Oh my God. I think my Joe character, Deep Dish, I think he needs to come with a pet animal.
Yes.
I need to figure that out. I need to do the math on that. That was so good.
Wow.
Oh man, Jeff, that was so good.
It's almost a mature story for that cartoon.
It really, really is, man. Like it's got like Cobra's barely.
It's got real heart.
Yeah, Cobra's barely in it. Like if that guy here, the non-G.I. Joe version of that story and replace Destro, it's like the movie Under Siege, you know? Replace Destro with just a loyal commander on the boat, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Where George convinces just one of his buddies to help him save the flag. Not steal it, but just save the Montana.
Save it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's such a good episode.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, you know, there's so many episodes that are so off the wall and so goofy, but they're entertaining. But this is one of a handful of episodes that really there's some pathos in there, and there's some real character, a character arc, and it's very entertaining.
Yeah,
I'm glad that I got to sit in on this.
Oh man, I'm really glad to have you, and I love that they found the right moments to do some comedy, with Shipwreck and the pirate outfit and.
Right.
A little bit of levity here and there, but for the most part, they're like, "Hey, this is a story. Here's a really great story." I love this. It's such a great episode. I've forgotten. I haven't seen this in a long time. Such a good show.
Yeah, it is.
Well, Jeffrey, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
My pleasure. A lot of fun.
This was so much fun. Remember to check out the Dashing Skull Club, his band. You can find him on YouTube, and check out his Revenge Creature reviews on YouTube, and keep an eye out for the Doing Speed, a Speed Racer podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be tweeting out that, and I'll probably go ahead and start a Twitter for that once the show gets started. So.
I will be sure to share it with all my followers, and we'll help grow your show. It's so exciting.
Yes, it is. It is. It's fun to start a new adventure, and it's fun to celebrate old cartoons.
It really is. Well, Jeff, thank you. I appreciate it. It's lovely meeting you, my man. Welcome welcome to the family, or should I say, Dragon Wagon. Welcome to the family.
Cobra!
And remember, now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.